Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Photorec.tv critique with a twist.
Indeed. Good play on words, by the way.
Welcome.
Cheers.
I've got my good friend and professional photographer Steve Skurich here with me in my fancy studio. It's just the kitchen, dining room.
But we're in Seattle, Washington. That's kind of cool.
It is.
I'm an East Tennessee boy. That's why I've got whiskey. Actually, it's a Manhattan, but it's...
Tell us a little bit about what you're drinking, and then we'll tell folks a little bit about what we're about to do here.
Yeah, so you're going to hear a little bit more about what our intentions are with this, and we hope that this is going to be a lot of fun, and this is going to not put Toby's YouTube channel in the doghouse for years to come.
I'll be honest. I mean, I was going to say I don't care. I absolutely care about my YouTube channel that I've worked incredibly hard to build up over the years, but I am extremely proud of our knowledge and being able to share it with you all. And if we do it while we're a little, I mean, you're a tiny bit tipsy. I'm 3 drinks in because we just recorded a photo mishmash for our photo enthusiast members. If we do it while we're a little tipsy, or all right, let's, you know, call a dog drunk. I'm not. Then yeah, that's one of the, that is, all right, so I don't make much money doing all of this.
What? I thought you YouTube guys were loaded, man.
I know, you know, all that.
I see MKBHD cruising around his Tesla all the time, and Casey Neistat's got, I don't know, he's flying out first class. He got a Tesla too. Yeah.
Well,
see? Do you have a Tesla?
No, but I also don't have 10 million subscribers.
Well, we got to work on that. Hopefully this will boost you from 270,000 to 271,000.
No, my point was, I might not be rich in monetary ways, but I feel that I'm really rich in getting to do what I do. And the fact that I can choose to spend a random Thursday night with my good friend and professional photographer Steve Skurich, who I've already introduced and introducing again, critiquing a few of your photos while we're a little tipsy, then that's what we're going to do.
And yeah, so what I was going to say is you will probably see me sipping a Manhattan. This is my drink. This is... this happens to be Basil Hayden whiskey. I use a good rye or a bourbon, and Carpano Antica vermouth with a couple dashes of Angostura bitters and a Luxardo maraschino cherry, which you can probably see down there.
You sound like such a ridiculous snob
I know.
right now.
It's a recipe that I perfected over the years, and my whiskey drinking buddies in East Tennessee might think this is a little frou-frou. But it's a drink that I really enjoy. I'm a big Frank Sinatra buff. I was born in the wrong decade, I suppose.
I really wish I had a Bud Light Lime-A-Rita right now and be like, this is what I'm drinking.
Lime-A-Rita? Oh,
isn't that a thing? I've actually never had
That's
one.
right up there with champagne and a, pink champagne and a flute.
I'm on my third gin and tonic. This one made...
awfully milky for a gin and tonic.
Yeah, it's been doctored with some San Pellegrino limoncello flavor.
Oh.
Very delicious, very drinkable. And we're going to start critiquing your photos.
Yeah.
Many of you, if you're watching this and you're regretting sending your photos in, I'm sorry. We do have good things to say. We'll share them about your photos in just a minute. We had lots of photos sent in. We're obviously not going to critique all of them. You were supposed to just send 1 per person. I know some of you are like, I got 40 photos. Here you go. And, well...
Oh, I'm so glad that you said that, because I thought it was the Manhattans that I would see a name appear, 2 or 3 times. It was just double vision going on.
No.
But, no, we had multiple submissions.
Yeah.
Huh? Okay.
So, I did the picking for you. I don't really like to do that. I want you. What is your image that you're most proud of? But, for right now... I picked a few. What we're going to do is critique a few images. If you don't see yours, it might be in the next episode, because we're going to record a couple of episodes. You better hope it's in this first one, though, because...
Well, you're already starting out 3 in. I'm 1 down on Manhattan, but these are pretty stiff. So, yeah, you better hope that that you're in this first little batch here. What are we going to do? Like batches of 5?
Batches of 5 images at a time.
Okay.
And again, we may, for whatever reason, maybe you didn't follow the rules, or maybe I just didn't feel like it, might not actually get to review your image. And, for a long time, I really wanted to make everybody happy, and that didn't always work well for everything that I do. So, you know, sometimes I have to make a decision, and there may be some images that are skipped. Please don't have your feelings hurt about that. Sometime in the future, I invite you to resubmit an image for an additional critique. And with that said, let's jump right into Abdul's waterfall photo and share some thoughts. What I'm going to do is, you know what? Abdul, you didn't follow the rules. I didn't notice this till now. You got no metadata in there, so we don't know about those things. I'd love to know. Shutter speed. And here's the point of these critiques. It's not just for Abdul to get feedback on his image, but it's for many of you out there to say, oh, so that's what shutter speed we use to get kind of that silky waterfall. Oh, what does Steve and Toby think about it? Or, you know, so there's a lot of learning that happens in these videos outside of just our thoughts on this picture right here.
Well, one of the things that we can talk about, though, without having the metadata to kind of critique, you know, shutter speed and that kind of stuff. First of all, Abdul, I think you selected a really great shutter speed here. And the reason I say that is obviously you're trying to slow the water down. I'm hoping that you were on a tripod. I haven't zoomed in tight on this to see. It might be a little soft in here, but it looks pretty good. We're in pretty tight. And we're also looking at JPEG, but the file size is relatively big.
That's what I was checking.
But what I want to talk to everybody about is the water, right? The tendency is to go as long as you can possibly go. You put on that 10-stop ND filter and it's the middle of the day and you go up to f22 and you do some 20-second exposure on water. And I would challenge you to not do that, and certainly not do that on all the waterfall or moving water shots that you're taking, because they're all different. Water flows different in different scenarios, and I think that Abdul did a really nice job here of capturing the water, kind of softening it out, but still showing a lot of movement and a lot of texture. Had he gone longer than this, I think especially down in here, this bright area would have just been clouded and two-dimensional. But you can still see some texturing down in here. If anything, I'd say, let's say this is a 1 second exposure. You could possibly take another one at half a second and still get the smoothing effect. I don't know on that front, Toby, if you have anything to add.
Well, just a couple of things that I really like. I think I like the spacing above and below the waterfall. We have a little bit of room to know it's coming out of this good green forest, and we have a little bit of room out of the bottom to have that kind of white flow not be cut off. So that looks like thoughtful framing. Big thumbs up for that. I'm also impressed that you did this during a tricky time of the day. We have full sunlight and we have that kind of spotty light playing over the falls, but none of it is so blown out that it's distracting. One of the things we do, and it's easy when you're drunk because you're kind of getting squinty, is you squint your eyes down at your image. And anything, and this is a tip from Allie McKay, we work on those photo workshops. Steve is actually here in my house because we just finished up a fantastic workshop here in the Pacific Northwest region. And, you know, squint your eyes, and anything that jumps out at you, you need to deal with it, unless it is your subject. And, you know, we've got some spotty light here, but none of it is too bright to be distracting, except maybe this little bit hiding behind the bushes. I would work on that a little, you know, darken that just a touch.
The other thing to consider here when we're talking about light and kind of squinting your eyes and noticing things is this area up here. Obviously there's sky up here, and that's nice, but there's so little sky that it's kind of a story that ends abruptly. I talk a lot about a photograph should be a story, and there's little subplots within that story, and this is a subplot going on up here, and you can see just enough sky to know that it's there, but it's not enough to really be pleasing to the eye necessarily. So I might consider filling this in, go into Photoshop and fill this in with some content aware, to just make this all green. That's going to give you more of a consistent light throughout. You got the highlights in the water and the darker elements in the rocks and the trees and some nice color in the green, without this third color, this blue kind of purpley tint up here that's also bright and competes visually with the brightness of the water.
So simplify.
Yeah. And, you know, if you don't want to do that, another consideration in this case might be to consider And for time's sake purposes, I'll just click black and white. But consider going black and white. Many times, now I process my black and white photos differently than I do my color pictures, because you no longer have color as part of your story. Now you have to tell your story with black, white, and gray pixels. And how do you tell that story? Well, it's told with sharpness and with contrast and with shadows and with light. So you have to process it very differently. As soon as you transfer this to black and white, you really start to notice the brighter or hotter elements of the photograph. So, you know, that means you're going to want to probably bring your contrast up, maybe dehaze it a little bit, and then bring those highlights and whites down a bit. And I don't know, probably you'll have to find a balance here. It takes some work and manipulation, and this may not be the best iteration to go, but it is something to think about if you're shooting in harsh daylight. And many times when I'm shooting in this time of day, and you can see shadows are being cast across your subject, I do consider how this is going to look as a black and white photo.
Yep. And you know, we're joking around a lot tonight, but we're giving you some serious advice. And if you want more of that, the Photo Enthusiast Network is a fantastic place to get really serious photographic feedback on your images. And you know, I'm just looking at this and really feeling like it's a nice shot, but there are shots within this shot as well that I really like. And I think this kind of lower thirds that as I just cropped, there's not a whole lot going on. It's a little bit of a dead space, but man, those first 2 tiers of waterfall are pretty epic. And so I wouldn't recommend cropping in like this necessarily. You're taking away too much. But
dude, that looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
That's super impactful. So let's compare that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Toby brings up a great point here, and that is typically in a vertical picture like this. We tend to do this horizontal as well, but especially on a vertical picture, our eye is going to travel left to right, but it's really going to travel from the bottom of the photograph up as well, more so than a landscape photo or landscape orientation. And in doing that, your eye stops right here. This is a very bright part of the picture. And the more you want to travel up the frame, the more your eye keeps coming back to this bright spot right down at the bottom. Now, when you do what Toby had suggested, and you crop those layers away, and you basically position this waterfall using the rule of thirds, right here, I think that looks just amazing. That's
really nice. I mean, that is some really cool detail there. So Abdul, I hope you can get back to the spot and reshoot it with a little bit of a longer focal length. We have no idea what your metadata is, again, because you didn't follow the rules. But, you know, all right. And we're going to move on because we can't spend too much time on all. Wait, this is Abdul's too. Oh, wait, we need to filter. All right, next up.
Nice.
Is she giving the finger? Or is it the...
looks like the index finger.
Index finger, but...
Yeah, making pig nose. Doing pig nose.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry to show you all my nose hairs with that one, but
that's all right.
We're small in the bottom of the screen, right?
Well, I'm going to definitely make it big for that part right there, if it's not too much editing work. I shot weddings for quite a while as part of my photographic journey, and portrait orientation, which we should actually call vertical because we just saw a landscape in a vertical orientation, so they're not. I would often leave too much room above people's heads. And I just kept doing it again and again and again. It's just so easy to do. Kind of put their head in the middle, and then there's all the space above them. Vishek, you've done that. And there's nothing going on up there. And I've did it enough times that I look at reviewing my photos, which, you know, taking time to look at each of your photos is just great feedback for yourself. And having other people like us say, oh man, what is going on with all that space up there? So the first thing I want to do is just get rid of it. And now we have this question a lot, well, what ratio should I crop? I mean, if you're just going to post on Facebook, who cares?
Doesn't matter.
Post whatever tells the story the best. But if you want to stay, you know, you can come over here and say, you know, original and have the little locked and come in and get a shot. I'm going to use that rule of thirds. I have my crop grid in Lightroom rule of thirds. pretty much put on all the time, and come in tight.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's no question whether it's the index finger or the middle finger. Right away, you know what's going on with this shot.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where I would have gone with this photograph. And you know, we talk about the rule of thirds, and the rule of thirds can come into play almost anywhere. However, with a shot like this, like Toby mentioned, you put it in this bottom left or even bottom right, and you've got all this just empty landscape above. It really just falls short, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the full body of somebody down here in these lower elements, and you've got something cool going on in the sky, or even negative space, it can look great for you know, showing perspective and scale and that kind of stuff. But there's enough of the subject being shown here, and to Toby's point, you're kind of left with the question of, is that her, what am I looking at here? Is that her index finger or middle finger? When you come in tight and you really use the rule of thirds, put it right there. I mean,
now you're creating some tension there.
Yeah, I did. In fact, as soon as I hit enter, I noticed that. So, and this is another thing. Look at the direction that the subject is looking, whether it's wildlife or a person, and she's obviously looking off to this direction. Leave some space there. What Toby mentioned is when I cropped in too tight here, she's looking right off the frame, and this, again, this is a story that just ends abruptly at the end of the frame. It's very stressful to the eye to see that, especially when you compare it to this. It's just much more pleasing. You're much more relaxed looking at this. And as far as exposure goes, I would definitely take a look at that. Maybe pop in some contrast here. I could even consider toning down just a little bit. There's some highlights up here in her forehead a bit. I would take those down just a little.
Yeah.
And maybe work on the whites and the blacks. We won't get into that too much because of time, but there's some stuff that you can do here that would really kind of help this image not only pop and look more pleasing, but actually accentuate this sort of pose, if you will, that she's making.
On one hand, I can't believe we've spent so much time critiquing a picture like this, because it's just a quick snapshot of a girl doing a little pig nose. But on the other hand, I think there are lessons to be learned from this. One is, you know, it looks cold. She's quite bundled up. She got like 2 scarves on. I think they call those infinity scarves.
Wow, I did not know that.
And so she's a little red in the face. And one of the things that you can do to quickly fix that is come down to the color panel in Lightroom. If you use Lightroom, shift the red a little bit more orange. Also decrease its saturation just a touch. You want to be careful because you got to watch the lips. You don't want the lips to all of a sudden turn gray and zombie-like, and illuminance bump up a little bit. And so look at that. Her face is just a little bit more kind of an even tone to it. And
we are sitting here critiquing this woman making a pig nose. But you know what? If you're going to make a pig nose on camera, edit it to be the best pig nose on camera you can make.
And one more thing that bothers me about this image is the eyes aren't the sharpest part. And we've got a subject with eyes. With very few exceptions, that should be the sharpest part of the image.
Yeah.
And this was taken with what looks like to be the nifty 50, I'm going to say, 50 millimeters f1.8. We were just talking about this in the room the other day. One of the things that I love, it is pretty soft. One of the things that I love about these trips is how clients become friends. These are the workshops I'm talking about. And we had Tim in the room, and we were just chatting about how pretty much almost all of us had a nifty 50 at some point in our photographic journeys. And many of us, when we had that 50 on, we shot it at f1.8 because, hey, you got this 1.8 lens. This is probably your first fast lens, your first fast aperture. And that's fine. But you got to be careful about where you're putting that focus point. You should be choosing that focus point. I'm making an executive decision here. We're done with this image, and we're moving. We're moving on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Let's go. We've got Akini Peters, Three Sisters, Alberta.
Wow. Okay. So, first of all, the initial impression or the impact of this image is really pretty cool, right? This shows what photo manipulation can do. However, I will say that it's been done a little too much. And what I like to refer to when I look at a picture like this is there's a little too much salt on the dish, too much salt on the meal. Salt, as you know, can really help to bring a dish out, but it can spoil a dish if you use too much of it. And I think in this case, there's just been a little heavy-handed on the salt.
What is the salt?
The salt is pretty much found right here in this present section. So this section right down here, every time you come to this section in Lightroom, and it's available in Camera Raw and Photoshop and stuff, is to think of this as your salt on food. Just a little bit goes a very, very long way. You don't need much of it, because what happens is if you do this too much, and you can see that the shadows have been manipulated all the way to the end, the highlights have been brought all the way down, you start to lose how the natural look of the scene. And you want to enhance the photograph, you don't want to completely change the scene. This may be your art and what you want to do, and that's subjective, and all the power to you if this is what you want to do. But if you're coming to us and you're looking for professional photographer's opinion on what you can do to make your image better, I say that you put a little too much salt on this dish.
Bam! That's Steve laying a smackdown on you all.
So I would, now we probably have a JPEG here. Oh,
we had a DNG okay. that Akini has edited some already.
Cool.
I'm actually surprised. Looking at the settings, I'm having trouble distinguishing exactly where you did pour a little bit too much salt on food, but it is the first thing that jumps out at me. It is a feeling that what we're seeing up there in those clouds just is a little bit beyond what you would experience in reality, and the trees just have a little bit more kind of pop and glow to them. And I think Steve said it very well, so I'm going to stop there and not repeat myself. It just has been taken just a little bit too far, in my personal opinion.
And there's a custom white balance that's been applied. I applaud you for that. I think the numbers may be kind of right on the money. It's a totally cool shot, Akini, so I don't want to take away from it. What I want to do is just simply challenge you to really consider, let's see what auto white balance does here. That toned it down quite a bit. I mean, I know coming from the first thing that we saw, now if I hit the backslash, is it going to go back to when we first opened? Sorry for the delay, folks.
Budget. It's all about the budget. I will say that you know, it's the clouds and the trees that are, you know, throwing me a little bit. Man, the three sisters back there, I assume those are those three peaks. They look beautiful and fantastic, and the green on them and the green leading up to them and the mountains themselves are very nicely captured.
I know compared to what was originally submitted, this looks very subdued and almost blah. But if this is the first picture that you're presented with, trust me, you're going to see this and just be not necessarily blown away, but this is a great image. So
I agree. Yep.
And you can see I'm kind of bringing this stuff back up just a little bit. And there's a couple ways to work these sliders. You can go all the way to the right, back it off until it looks natural, and then back it off a little bit more. I think you'll find that you'll be just right of center from where you started, and yet retain more of that natural look. Or you can just slowly edge this up until you get a little bit more pop out of the photograph without overdoing it. Again, salt on food, right? If I was working this image, I would be really careful with some of these blacks. It looks like this might be a sensor spot or something right here. I'd take it into Photoshop and kind of work on that. But, you know, maybe take these blacks up just a little bit to keep the overall tone so it's not so heavy right here. But I think if you just tone it down just a little bit, and I talk to you from experience. When I first started doing a lot of editing with my photographs, I spent years working on Apple's aperture program, and I used to crank the vibrance, crank the saturation up, really go crazy with bringing my highlights down and my shadows up and the contrast.
I mean, I'll say what you're trying to say. His pictures used to suck. I mean, they were terrible.
But I thought they were great. My family thought they were great, and I was being fed all this candy from my family and friends. It was a lot of fun. Right. But there was, once I started going to professional photographers and getting some nutritional food from them, you'll find that I use a lot of food analogies. probably because we're sitting here drinking and I like food to go with my drinks. It helped me out a lot. So I hope that's helpful, Kenny.
You know, and Kenny, I feel like we may have brought you down a little bit, but I really love your composition. Fantastic. Really nicely done. Next picture. You know, I kind of love in this critique, I don't know what exactly we're going to title this. Maybe the title is Drunk Critiques, but I'm not drunk. I have extremely rarely been drunk in my life, I'll be honest with you, but a little tipsy. We are kind of running the gamut of images here, and we have what comes up and is immediately Alfredo is a snapshot. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. They can be kind of a fun memory of, I think this is called a coatimundii. These little kind of like long tail.
That one out.
Long tail. Well, I have a minor in biology.
I definitely don't. I thought that was a cat.
That's a cat.
I'm totally kidding. I totally thought that was a dog.
Oh man, that's good stuff. Which, you know, snapshots are important memories. But what we're asking you to submit here is thoughtful images. And I think there are ways to make cool memories that are also thoughtful images. And what we got going on here, and Steve, you mentioned this, is we just started to run through these 12 millimeters. I bet this was like a micro four thirds camera, you know, GH5 or Olympus or something. And the kit lens is probably a 12 to 35 or something like that. So you shot it on the widest. You're like, oh, cool. Let me get it all in. Click. And you end up with this kind of, to be a little bit harsh, awkward photo. And I think there's a neat way to show the closeness of this wild animal and these people, whether it be a cat or a dog or a coatimundii. But this isn't the best angle for that, and this isn't the best focal length for that.
Yeah, you know, so I'd like to take this opportunity just to say I totally agree with Toby. And you can see if you use a wide lens, 12 millimeters, and you're also creating a very shallow depth of field at 3.5 at 12 millimeters, you're getting distortion, right? This leg and this foot just come right out at you. Some of the angles and stuff, they're just not real natural. There's a lot going on in this picture, so you're kind of left with like, what exactly is the story in this photograph? I get that it's these kids kind of getting close to this coatimundii, but you've got this big black watch that's kind of sitting in there. It's grabbing my attention now that I've noticed it.
Something so little and innocuous as a person wearing a watch. Just boom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so if in fact this is a zoom lens and you can go from 12 to 24 or to 70 or to even to 300, I know some of these lenses have a huge range. I would challenge you, Alfredo, to really zoom in on the subject itself. Fill the frame up with, yeah, look at how adorable this little guy is. You know, it'll take some cropping and stuff, but you don't want to do this necessarily with a picture that you're going to blow up really big on the wall of your house. But, you know, I know that I'm cropping his tail off, but again, if you're sharing on Facebook, you can kind of play with the orientation or the ratio there, but I really fill in the frame up with this little guy. And when you take the shot, zoom in tight to be unapologetic of exactly what the subject is. The subject, in my opinion, here is not these kids getting close to this little creature here. It's the little guy himself.
Well, I'll disagree with you, Steve, and this is a great, I don't know if we'll be able to come up with these each episode, but man, in the comments, folks, one, let us know if you think this drunk critique is ever worth watching. You know, but two, I think the story is the kids and the coatimundii together. What I would love to see, here's what I recommend is parents, people trying to get that memory shot, get the quick safety shot, boom, you got it. Then see if you can make it better. So you've captured this moment, but now what if you back around and shoot through the legs to the coatimundii, and then you've got legs and coatimundii, and you get that kind of juxtaposition. I get smarter when I'm tipsy. Start
using those big college words.
I'm an idiot when I'm sober, but you know, then you're like, oh, humans are like right next to that cute little fuzzball. And I think you have a story there. I'm not necessarily disagreeing in that a tight crop on the coatimundi is also a story. Because here's the other thing that you can do is one picture doesn't always have to stand alone by itself. You could have on your wall a close-up picture of the coatimundi and a close-up picture of the legs, and
yeah. This is one of this goes in the file of it's a great memory. You got the snapshot of a great memory, and those are extremely important. I don't want you folks to get the wrong idea that we're saying every picture has to be some masterpiece, because that's not it at all.
Yeah.
This is a great memory. This is a great snapshot. Is it one that you're going to blow up to 30 by 50 and put on metal above your couch in your living room? Yeah, probably not. I would go to Akini's picture for that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to look at his picture, his or her picture again.
Yeah, it's nice. All right, let's go to the last one. I think we said we wanted these shows to be about 10 minutes long, and who the heck knows how long it is already. Longer than 10, I think. And we got Aaron.
Yep.
Aaron with a little accent above the A. Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
I
like this shot.
That's what Aaron did.
The one thing I want to do with the shot, though, we just got to do it, is pull it into Photoshop.
Okay, I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I think he's going to add a Smurf.
Yeah.
All photos are better with a Smurf in them.
There's two reasons for this, right? Okay, here's the deal. You've got the reflection. I'm really bummed that we don't have this red flag reflected in the water down here. My guess is that this is the way it was taken in camera, and you didn't crop that out. If you did, in fact, crop that out, Aaron, I would definitely encourage you to go back and recrop this image to show the end of the mast with the red flag in the water, in the reflection, because it's beautiful. It's awesome. So we run into a little bit of a challenge here, and that challenge is that we need more space. Rather than have this mast end right at the edge of the frame, we need to extend the photograph so that it looks, you've got some breathing room, right?
I can't wait to see you do this slightly tipsy. This is gonna be good.
I was hoping just to avoid it, and especially now that I noticed that the red flag isn't there. So yeah, I mean, we can come in here and we can go to, there's a number of ways that you can do this, by the way, but we're gonna anchor it there, and we're gonna increase the height by, I don't know what, 2 inches. Okay.
That's how that works.
So now what we've done, all I've done is I've created a canvas as a layer on the background, or not even as a layer, but just a background canvas here, and I've extended some working space, and I might go in here and fill in. Quick selection tool usually is the quickest way to go. And let's do content aware fill. That's a lot of space. We're going to crop it up.
Fingers.
Okay. So obviously this is, we want to get rid of.
But it gave you more water canvas to work with.
Yeah.
And it put the mast over there for some reason. And it also has a bit of a seam in the water.
So with the seam, you can go to your spot healing tool. I did this in my work as a real estate photographer for many years. Go to spot healing, click here, go to the end, hold the shift key down, click again, draws a perfect line. It's going to remove the seam. May have to do it a couple of times. Looks like you're pretty soft on your brush. So
again, we're not calling this show Drunk Photoshop Teaching. So
right.
We're going to keep this minimal.
You take that out, and it's still going to take some work. This is the way Photoshop works, and if you really run into a bind, the beauty of Photoshop is that you can go down here and get right down into the individual pixels and manipulate those.
Yeah.
Anyways, for the sake of time, we're not going to get into it. The problem is we're going to have to clone this and rebuild it down here to increase the reflection. That's one thing. The other thing that I noticed was this line right here. If you guys can see that, take this out same way that you would down below. and it's just one element that's a distraction. And again, I would work on this for a while. When you're working in Photoshop and doing this kind of work, you want to go in tight and you want to work slowly and just really do a nice job of that. If you are planning on putting this on the wall of your house, if you're just going to share it out on social media, you can be a little bit more sloppy and get it out there. People get the point, probably don't notice the flaws of the photograph, but we're here to encourage you to really do a great job with this.
Yeah. I love, you know, I love that this shot feels from a slightly higher perspective down. The rule of thirds, we've got the horizon line way up on the third. It's not down near the bow of the boat. It's a very, very nice shot.
It really is. I like it a lot.
Nicely done, Aaron. That wraps up our 5 images that we're going to do in this first episode of Drunk Teaks.
That wasn't too sloppy.
Critique? Yeah, wait for next episode because we're going to film a bunch right now. But Steve, if you had to pick a favorite out of these 5 that we just reviewed, which one would you pick?
Good question. I think with enough work, I like the boat. Yeah, I think with enough work, I like the boat. I've got to say that also with enough work, I think there's some really cool stuff that you can do with this. I just kind of scratched the surface on what I would do to really put this on my wall, but it's got a ton of potential. So does the waterfall at the beginning when you crop it in, but I think this would probably be my favorite. It's
a very, very nice picture. If Abdul, you can get back to the spot and shoot a cropped in with a little bit more even light, this might be my favorite pick because I've got a soft spot for a little bit of a soft flowy water.
That's a nice shot.
And we're going to wrap it up. Thanks so much for watching. Let us know your favorite thought in the comments right down below. And whatever else you want to tell us, you're going to anyway, because that's what you do, YouTube. And if you want serious critiques when we're stone cold sober from not just Steve and I, but 2 other professional photographers, Dave and Allie McKay, who have made photography their life and are passionate about photography, you could join PEN. That's the Photo Enthusiast Network. I'll put a link right down below where you can find out more information about that. Honestly, nowhere else on the internet are you going to get access to professional photographers that give you this kind of personalized attention and feedback. So you should check it out if you're interested in becoming a better photographer. If you aren't interested, hey, you know, keep being happy with your peanut butter and jelly.
Keep on trucking.
All right, we'll see you all real soon again. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
That was long, huh?
That was long. The first...
That was probably like half an hour.
37 minutes. Holy sh**.
I think you guys should have a timer.
Yeah, I'll try.
You guys have 1 minute each.
1 minute each?
Yeah, I'll take a lot of blame for that.
Well, you know,
no, that was pretty equal.
You, Steve. And that first one was 5 minutes, or a little over.
We spent too much time on the pig nose and the...
Gonna critique the pig nose.
That little Cordamundi thing.